I, 34 female, was with Liam, 35 male, for over a decade, had 2 children with him, and we broke up when I learned he was cheating on me with Ella, 30 female. Ella was pregnant when I learned about their affair, and the 2 of them were very smug about the fact that they were going to start a family with my kids, who were young enough at the time to see Ella as a second mom in their lives potentially. Ella was downright nasty, saying she could provide for them so much better because her parents were wealthy and she'd be the #1 mom in no time. We ended up getting shared custody of our children, and the schedule was a week on, a week off. X and I had to meet at a neutral location per our custody order to reduce conflict and any problems with exchanging our children. The judge also ruled that Ella could not be present for exchanges, giving her alienating language toward me that was not totally hidden from mine and Liam's children. My ex and Ella were shocked when her family didn't support them after realizing that she had helped him cheat and had gotten pregnant with someone who had a family. So they ended up struggling. At the same time, I was doing better than ever after making a career shift I had wanted to do for a while before. They, of course, realized over time. This was, I think, just after they had their daughter and around the time that they got married. Then the name I heard for their daughter was suddenly changed to my name. They started being super kiss-butt with me and saying my kids deserved one family unit and how their daughter was named after me, was my kid's little sister, and she needed someone to help support her and give her the life her siblings have, etc. I told them they were bat crap crazy and I was not their daughter's anything. They had 2 more girls since then, and apparently they're telling those girls that I'm their aunt and or their other mom, hence the older of the 3 being named after me. The oldest is always trying to seek me out. My ex brings her during the exchanges with our kids, and she rushes out of the car with my kids. They've told me how uncomfortable it makes them because they aren't allowed to correct it. I told my ex he needed to say something. I said the same thing to Ella, but she didn't. A few days ago, their oldest sought me out again and asked if she could stay when my kids stay with me, and she's so glad I'm her aunt and her other mom. I told her I wasn't. I said it kindly, but I was also firm that I was not her aunt or her mom. She got upset and ran back to her parents, and then I got dumped on by Ella for breaking her daughter's heart. She said that she had only tried to be friendly and make the best of the family situation for the kids, and I was the idiot. I feel kind of bad because the little girl was devastated. At the same time, I don't have any interest in being part of those 3 girls' lives in any kind of way, except for when I see them for my kids. Am I the idiot? It seems Ella's parents have disowned her for the scandal. That's why she's struggling. And I guess that's no surprise. Karma slapped her and your ex in the face really hard. That's why they're trying to kiss your butt. Definitely not the idiot. OP, you may need to go back to court to stop this. Your ex has no right to bring this girl to the exchange, making your children uncomfortable. Ex and affair partner deserve each other. Poor kids, though. She's playing the long game of manipulation and hoping you'll just get worn out and go along with it. I feel sorry for the kid who's obviously been told a pack of lies. That must hurt a lot, but that's got nothing to do with you. Your ex should be stepping up here too. He started this crazy crap. It's his daughter. Whoa, just wow. Yeah, to be honest, OP, I think what you did was the kindest thing in the long run. That kid needed to know that she's not going to have a relationship with you. And to be quite honest, her parents have used her to force a relationship with you to get more money, or whatever they're after. I've never heard of someone changing the name of their child after it's born. That's just weird. These people are very strange, honestly. I mean this in the nicest way, when I say I'm glad you're no longer with your ex. He's obviously got issues alongside his new wife with the way that they're acting. The insanity of some people continues to astound me. So before people roll their eyes and cringe and scream, seeing the word Christmas already, please hear me out, LOL. I'm a nearly adult female. I still live with my parents and my 2 brothers, a teen and a young teen. My mom has 2 older kids, a half-brother 29 and a half-sister 27. Mom divorced their dad right after her pregnancy with the youngest was up. They had broken up before Mom even gave birth to their daughter. But things were never easy. She met my dad 2 years post-divorce and married him after 3 years together. They had us, and all should have been fine, if not good. But their dad was not having my dad or me and my brothers be important to his and my mom's kids, and he used all kinds of parental alienation he could. It was messy. Mom was awarded full custody after a while, but then he sued again, and they wanted to return once they were teenagers. During all this, Mom had them in therapy, family therapy. They were awful to be around. They didn't treat us well, and they did not treat Dad good. They would treat us like crap. They called us names and told us they wish we had never been born, or that their dad would come and make us pay for being born. Crap like that was so common, and then they were gone. They were mostly with their dad. Then we started seeing them more a few years ago, but they still didn't like us. Neither did their spouses. My half-sister has 2 kids, and we're not allowed to interact with her kids. She tells her kids my brothers and I are mistakes that Grandma made, and that my dad is ignored by them entirely. Every Christmas they spend time with us, and it's awful. My brothers and I hate it. My dad hates it, but we have to deal with it for Mom. Dad does so willingly. The rest of us, not so much. Last Christmas was the worst one yet. Mom's son is expecting a baby with his wife, and all the while they were celebrating, we were ignored. And then I heard her kids talk about us being so annoying and in their faces simply for being present. Half-sister's husband made one joke to me the whole time, saying they just have to make their Christmas wish that none of us would be there and their family could be together next year. That was all he said to me the whole time. I'm just so done. Mom will never let them go. Dad will never want to see her sad. I don't want to deal with it. So I told them I was done with family Christmas after they started talking about it a few weeks ago, that I will not be with them celebrating. I might be just underage, but they cannot expect me to spend the rest of my holidays being treated like I was a mistake and shouldn't be here because I was born, which is not something I can control. Mom was so upset. Then she told me I had no say. So I told them I would stay in my room, but I was not going to hang out with people who despise me and literally wish us all dead, because we all know it's what they do. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot at all. And it's disgusting that your mother lets her other children behave that way. Your mom should have been protecting you. Really, she should have nipped this in the bud years ago. But if she was aware of their actions and did nothing to stop it, that's as good as implicit permission for cruel kids. Now they're adults and still acting like spiteful, nasty kids. If you have the means and ways to protect yourself from that, especially since they seem incapable, then go for it. Your mom may never let them go, and your dad may not want to see her upset, but they seem to have missed the point that they have lost you and made you upset. And you're still children who deserve protection from their parents. Leave. Stand up for yourself. Hide. Refuse to interact. Whatever it takes. But yes, make it clear you are no longer part of this sanctioned abuse. Whatever it takes to make your parents realize they've subjected you to torment for long enough and are nearly out of time to fix it. Edit. That's not a tense Christmas. That's an abusive environment, and you do have a choice. I wonder what Mom would say when you go no contact because of the treatment of her older children. My husband asked if I wanted to go to Saint-Tropez with the kids because his family was going. I said no because I'm 6 months pregnant and I had complications early on, and I'm worried the same will happen again, which would be even more terrifying while stuck on a boat away from home. He tried to convince me nothing would happen and I was being overcautious, but I wouldn't change my mind, so he seemed to give up. He went to Saint-Tropez with the kids without telling me they were going and called me once they arrived to persuade me I had to come since the kids were already there. I was so angry at him and worried about the kids that my first instinct was to go immediately, but as I was packing, I changed my mind. I told him I wasn't coming and that he was horrible for taking the kids behind my back, but I hoped it was worth it for him. He continued to try to persuade me for a few days, and he got upset that I wouldn't come even after my youngest bawled his eyes out because he missed me. He ended up coming home yesterday without the kids because my sister made it seem like I was unwell because of what he did. We had an argument because I still had a lot of pent-up anger from when he originally took the kids. He's upset at me for not joining them and thinks I'm using the pregnancy as an excuse, since he said I would have just as good medical care in Saint-Tropez as at home if I needed it. He kept bringing up how our youngest had cried for me and I had ignored him. Am I the idiot? He did what? Is he normally that controlling? Who thinks my pregnant wife, who has health concerns, won't do what I want? So I'll take the kids without telling her and manipulate her into doing what I want. You picked a doozy for a spouse, OP. I'd be rethinking my life choices if I were you. Not the idiot. He tried to use children as a bargaining chip. They aren't his tools to make you do what he wants you to do. But are the kids still there without either of you? Your youngest was already crying without you. I can't imagine how frightened they are without their dad as well. Poor kids. Your husband put them through quite an ordeal, possibly even something traumatic, just because he wanted to force you to come on a vacation. Oh my God, he left the kids with your in-laws? He did something childish because he didn't get his way and wants to blame you because it made the kiddo cry? Geez, a real winner he is. This is a therapy and divorce type situation. What he did was abusive. Call a lawyer today and get their advice about the whole situation. And if I were you, I would either be sending someone to retrieve my children or having the in-laws return them immediately. No matter how safe or how much fun they're having, you didn't give permission for them to travel out of the country or to travel alone with your in-laws. The children are also traveling without anyone permitted to make medical decisions in case of an infection or a broken limb or worse. You should also tell your doctor what has happened and is still happening. The effects of this on your body are something they need to monitor. Don't downplay this, with them or with yourself. Lawyer today, emergency therapy today or tomorrow. I'm 61, female, and I have 2 children, 41 male and 39 female. My children are going through a little spat over money my son loaned my daughter over 10 years ago. It's really tearing my family apart, and I just want to see what people have to say. My son gave my daughter $20,000 to start a business 10 years ago, and I was happy when he did it because it was unexpected and nice. Now here's where the problem occurs. She never started the business, and now every Thanksgiving, my son asks my daughter if she's going to pay him back, and it's getting annoying because people want to eat. My daughter complains about it, saying she'll pay him back and then drops it. My daughter's fiance says she's tired of the harassment over the money. My daughter had a bachelorette party, and everything was going swell. We ordered male dancers, ate cheesecake, and just had fun. The next day we woke up because we heard knocking, and it was a guy saying, "You've been served," because my son is suing my daughter over the money. I called my son and called him a disappointment. My son said, "Look here, it's been 10 years. If she's not trying to pay back, then I'm taking her skinny butt to court." I'm torn. Am I the idiot? Just to be clear, he gave her $20,000 10 years ago to start a business, which she never did. And you're unhappy because he brings it up every Thanksgiving, which has been 10 Thanksgivings, right? And instead of telling your daughter to start repaying that money, you get upset because people want to eat? And now she won't pay him back, but she will pay for a bachelorette party with multiple dancers and cheesecake. I'm extremely confused as to how you consider him a disappointment for taking action in this matter. You are the idiot. We all know why your daughter's not paying him back. You join her in complaining about your son's behavior. You want him to drop it and find this an inconvenience. It doesn't bother you that your daughter's a thief. And now that he's doing the right thing and getting the money, you double down in your complaints about him. Then you tell him that he's a disappointment? You are a disappointment as a mom. Wow, your judgment and opinions are really skewed and off. I feel sorry for your son. He was kind and nice, and both his sister and his mom treated him badly. Wow. Your daughter's your golden child, and you're okay with her lying to your son about the intentions of the money she borrowed from your son. That's not okay. Your son is well within his rights to get his money back, and if I were him, I'd include interest. It's been 10 years. I am estranged from my sister. She and I used to have the same friend circle growing up, and she was good friends with my then best friend. But when I was 16, My then best friend was with a guy who ended up with a crush on me. I had no idea. Suddenly she turned into a bully, and she bullied me horrifically, to the point I was moved after only 2 months into a school year because she had leaked personal stuff about me to the whole school. This was stuff she knew because she was meant to be my best friend, and she blasted it everywhere. My sister stayed friends with this girl despite all that. Not only that, but when I told her it upset me, she told me I was being a controlling brat for thinking I could ask her to dump her friend. That was when I decided I had lost 2 people. First, my parents tried to keep my sister away from my former best friend, but she insisted that she be allowed to have whatever friends she wanted. That friendship lasted several more years before they stopped being friends, but it was too much by then. She even brought this girl to stuff she knew I would be at, under the guise of being allowed to bring friends. It was traumatic for me, and over that time I grew to hate my sister for subjecting me to that. She attempted to apologize a couple of years ago, but I didn't want to hear it. Now I'm engaged, and I warned my parents that my sister wasn't getting an invite. My brothers told me our parents seemed to mention my sister in speeches they were preparing, and they wanted to give me a heads up, since they didn't seem to want to listen to them. When I brought it to my parents, they said they couldn't pretend she didn't exist, since most people know I have a sister. I told her that those people also know that we no longer talk. I told them I didn't want them to mention her at my wedding. They told me I was being unfair, especially when she attempted to apologize, but I stopped her. We're now not on the best of terms. They think I'm unfair. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If your parents can't celebrate your day without bringing up your estranged sister, maybe they shouldn't go either. Your wedding is not about her, them, or whatever fantasies they have of forcing a reconciliation. Parents don't necessarily have to give a speech. It is typically just the best man and maid of honor who give a toast. None of the weddings I attended had either sets of parents of the bride and groom give a speech or a toast. But I'm no expert on these things. I don't know why a speech or toast at your wedding would even mention your sister anyways. It should be about love, your relationship, and congratulations on your newest milestone together, etc. If I were you, just do not let your parents be allowed to give a speech to prevent any potential drama. Agree. Revoke their privilege to give a speech. It's your wedding, not a Dr. Phil episode. My ex was a notorious attention seeker. At my daughter's wedding, the DJ was told to keep the microphone away from my ex, and he did. The ex was quite disappointed. Hope your wedding goes well. My wife and I moved out of the city and bought a small acreage a year ago. We've been saving for years to live a life free of HOAs and restrictions. The first week after we moved in, we had a lot of people stop by. One of them was Amanda, who almost immediately appeared distressed. She asked why we had peanuts on our patio. We explained that we put them out for the birds and squirrels. She explained that her tween had a severe allergy to nuts and asked us to please stop. As she explained it, birds and squirrels could drop or hide nuts close to her house, a few roads over. I will admit, I got my back up a bit because we had purposefully moved to a rural area to avoid restrictions, but my wife convinced me it wasn't a big deal and we could switch to seeds. We did just so, and while the birds don't visit as much, I figured it was an okay compromise for the sake of a little boy. So we only see Amanda in passing ever since, but are always cordial with each other. The big issue came 2 weeks ago. I recently started selling things at the local market: eggs, peacock feathers, fruit from our fruit trees, my wife's crafts, and walnuts from the trees on our land. So we've been providing a pretty solid addition to our income. 2 weeks ago, Amanda came pounding on our door. My wife, who's very non-confrontational, answered, and Amanda demanded to see our walnut trees, as she had heard from a neighbor that they were on our land. My wife admitted we had about 10, but made up an excuse, saying she had to leave for an appointment. Before leaving, Amanda exclaimed, 10? Well, obviously they'll need to be cut down. We've already had this discussion. This week, Amanda showed up while I was home with a petition, less than 20 names, demanding we cut down our trees. My rationale was the trees were decades old, and if he hadn't encountered the nuts yet, it would be unlikely he would in the future. She was obviously furious and said, if I had known about them, they wouldn't be decades old. She threatened to bring her petition to the local authorities and call the police for public endangerment. I admit I got angry and was a bit snarky, saying that a mature walnut tree in our area goes for about $500. So if she wanted to offer $5,000, plus the income I plan on making from the nuts every year, plus the cost of an arborist to remove them, I would consider it. She left angrily and yelled that I would hear from the police, which I haven't. My wife is on my side, but thinks I was an idiot because I said no. A few of our neighbors have said that they think Amanda's an idiot, but that I'm also an idiot because the boy could suffer an allergic reaction because of a few trees I'm being pig-headed about. Just hoping others could weigh in. Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. Does she also do this to stores? You can't sell nuts. It's a risk for my son. And tries to hunt down every squirrel because it could come with a nut or nutty breath too close to her son? Creatures of the devil. Those walnut trees were there the whole time that she lived there, and no nut rolled close to her son. But now that she knows about them, the trees are so dangerous. Amanda sounds nuts. It's unrealistic to expect someone several streets away to cut down trees she didn't even know about for years. Is she planning on ridding Earth of all nuts and legumes? At his age, this kid needs to recognize these allergens in nature and avoid them as necessary for his level of allergy. I would post a no trespassing sign and no longer answer calls from this wild woman. The wildlife can stay though. Anyone siding with her is just scared of being on the receiving end of her nutty tirades. Listen, I have a severe nut allergy and grew up on a walnut and hazelnut farm. Unless I want to roll in the nuts, I'm in no danger. I don't pretend to know how bad this kid's allergies are, but forcing the entire neighborhood to go nut-free for her kids sounds super over the top. Besides, peanuts aren't nuts, they're legumes. If her kid is allergic to nuts, she should know the difference. Of course, he could have nut and legume allergies, but you shouldn't have to restrict what is served or grown on your property. Do start documenting all interactions with her. This is going to get worse before it gets better. So, I, 31 female, am currently 4 months pregnant with my fiance, 32 male. We've been together for 7 years and are planning to get married soon. We've been meaning to for years, but have never seen it as urgent until we found out that I'm pregnant recently. We're both over the moon and excited. However, I haven't been overcome by mommy fever or anything. And now I've been lucky enough not to have experienced any morning sickness, nausea, or extreme symptoms in my pregnancy. However, last week I started getting absolutely killer headaches. I would describe it as if someone had taken an ice pick to my eyeball. I'm someone who usually drinks 3 or 4 cups of coffee a day, for context. I told my husband about these headaches and started to get worried because I thought I'd have the flu or maybe something worse, which could be bad for the baby, but he didn't say anything. After a week or so, the headaches pass, but I've noticed I'm much more tired than I used to be. I also tell him this, and he still doesn't say anything. Well, this morning, I find a pack of decaf coffee empty in the bin, and suddenly it dawns on me what's been happening. I'm the only one of us who drinks coffee, and he's the one who did the shop 2 weeks in a row now. I confront him, and he admits that when he's offered to do the weekly shop recently, he's just been reusing my usual coffee tin and buying the decaf version of the same product because caffeine is bad for pregnancy. He knows I don't have the will to do it on my own. But look, I've quit now and can spend the rest of the pregnancy without it. He said he didn't want to make me feel bad about my vice by confronting me, and that it would be easier to quit if I wasn't doing it intentionally. So he did all 3 of us a massive favor. He points out that I tried to quit caffeine before as a detox a few years ago and only made it 2 days. After that, I lost it and said he was a horrible person. Basically, I started packing my belongings and said that the way he acted was evidence that he not only completely lacked respect for me, but also caused me immense stress, knew it, and still didn't own up to it until I had to confront him. He's refusing to apologize, so I'm staying at a friend's until he does. However, he doesn't think he did anything wrong. He and his friends think I'm being the idiot because he was just doing what's best for his baby's health. that I'm completely overreacting and my reaction is just pregnancy hormones. I'm really upset and feel like I'm making a massive mistake. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. This is not about coffee. It's about control. He crossed a boundary by determining what you put in your body without your consent. What other aspects of your diet will he feel entitled to tamper with because he's decided he knows best? Can you trust him to enforce your medical directives during labor if something goes wrong? Or will he override you there too? Stay gone until he acknowledges this is a big deal. And if he refuses, start figuring out how you'll co-parent with someone who thinks you don't need to be consulted on decisions that impact you more than him. Would you feel the same if it was cigarettes, alcohol, or drugs? Because caffeine is harmful to their baby. 3 to 4 coffees a day is way too much. It's too much for anyone, really, even if you're not pregnant. Studies show that more than 2 cups of coffee per day can negatively affect your baby. My doctor told my wife to stick to 1 at the most, but he would prefer she quit entirely. I'm sorry, you're not going to get me to agree to a slippery slope on bodily autonomy. If it's dangerous enough to require medical intervention, then you talk to the doctor about how to make that happen. Otherwise, you treat your grown adult partner like an adult, not an incubator. Yeah, not admitting the truth is as good as lying. I'm familiar with caffeine headaches, and forcing you to go cold turkey was probably worse. Quitting any addictive substance involves tapering off of it. He lied, disregarded your health and the baby's health, and made choices for your body without communicating with you first. Trust would be out the window for me at this point, and it would take a lot more than an apology to make me return. I have a tween-years-old daughter with my ex. When she was younger, we had 50-50 custody, but when she started school, we couldn't do that anymore. We live in 2 different cities, so we changed it. We let her choose who she wanted to live with, and she chose me. We decided that she could stay with me most of the time and stay with my ex in the summer and 1 weekend a month. A year ago, she told us that she doesn't want to spend summers with her mom and asked to spend summers with me. It saddened her mom, but she agreed only to have her 1 weekend a month. The issue here is that recently she told me she doesn't want to spend that weekend with her either. The reason is that our families are very different. My family is very well off, and she's the only kid in our family, so she's the center of attention. My siblings love to buy her gifts and spend time with her, and she has a very comfortable life. Her mom's family, however, is full of kids. She has 2 half-siblings and about 15 to 20 cousins, and everyone's too busy with their own kids. Her mom can't take her on summer vacations, and if she does, they usually do activities for toddlers because of her half-siblings, which is why she didn't want to go there in the summer. Also, she complains about her mom always being busy and the food being bad. I told her that I understood, but she's her mom, so she has to make some effort. She can't stop seeing her mom just like this. This weekend she was supposed to be at her mom's, and I had to force her to go there because she locked herself in the bathroom. I don't think I'm an idiot, but my entire family thinks I'm horrible. Not the idiot. It sounds like your daughter's being a spoiled brat, and the only reason she doesn't want to go is that she's not the center of attention. She only wants to be with you for attention and gifts. Your entire family is wrong. You're doing right by your daughter by having her spend time with her mom. 1 weekend a month isn't much time at all. I strongly disagree with everyone calling her spoiled. Her mom started a new family and has 2 younger kids. When she goes there, all the activities are catered for her siblings rather than her, and I'm sure they get most of her mom's attention too. Additionally, most of her life is pretty quiet and peaceful, given that she's the only child. Going from that to a summer full of screaming kids is a shock to the system and can be overwhelming. So I don't blame her for not wanting to go. I think you need to have a conversation with your ex. Your daughter probably feels neglected when she goes there, like she's not as important as her mom's new kids. Her mom should find a way to have a special mother-daughter time when her daughter visits. I feel like I was right, but my mom chewed me out over it, and so did my aunt and uncle. My brother got mad at me too after I said it. My brother's divorced. His wife was paralyzed from the waist down because of a car accident, and their marriage didn't survive the aftermath. My brother filed for divorce a month after the accident. I know nothing about my former sister-in-law since the divorce. I know it was a hard situation for everyone involved, and I couldn't imagine. I called him an idiot because he discovered she won the lottery last year. I don't know how much, but he tried to take her to court to ask for spousal support, even though the divorce was 8 years ago. He lost, and he's still salty about the loss. I laughed at him for thinking he should get money from his ex-wife, who he hadn't seen or talked to in 8 years, but he still thinks he should get a piece of the money. And I called him an idiot because he thinks that. He ripped into me, and my mom said calling him names was inappropriate. I only called it as I saw it. So does that make me the idiot in this situation? On the other hand, maybe I was too harsh and should have said something. Not the idiot. Through sickness and in health, right? I can't fathom filing for divorce 4 weeks after a spouse suddenly became paralyzed. This guy is beyond horrible. He left when she had bad luck and thought he deserved some of her good luck. Sounds pretty idiotic to me. Your brother is a pig who wanted to rob his ex-wife's bank. No man files for divorce in 30 days from a life-altering accident or medical condition change with someone he loves. He saw that his life would be impacted and dropped her when she was at her lowest point in her life. He deserves nothing from her and deserves to be called far worse. Moron. Failed gold digger. Recipient of karma. Only calling him an idiot seems tame. But let me guess. Brother's mommy's little favorite? My mom said it was inappropriate to call him names. If your mother's first reaction isn't to burn with shame over the way your brother spoke, to drag him by the ear to the front door and scream to all the neighbors, "Look at this horrible son I raised. Anyone who wants him can have him," and lock him out, then she's also an idiot. Your mom, aunt, and uncle are frankly enablers. My stepdaughter is a tween. I, 30 female, have diabetes and other food allergies that prevent me from eating a wide variety of foods purchased for consumption in this household. The foods, snacks, and drinks that I can usually eat tend to be more expensive, and I have to spend way too much time shopping for bargains to eat. My stepdaughter is fully aware that these are the only things I can eat, and we had no problems up until roughly 6 months ago. I've been in her life for 8 years, so yes, this is a new behavior. So my favorite food and drink are burritos and Diet Sprite. I can't have either of them due to my allergies, and it took me forever to find a brand that I could have. But I don't get them often because both of these products are way too expensive. $19 for an 8-pack burrito and $12 for a 6-pack of the Sprite knockoff. Maybe once every 3 months or so. I caught my stepdaughter eating and drinking both multiple times and had to sit her down and tell her that I didn't want her eating those as they were expensive and for me specifically, and offered to buy her regular brand of the same items. She said yes, so I went out and bought them for her to find that she was still eating mine and not touching hers. I asked her why several times, and she shrugged her shoulders and walked off, or said, "I don't see why it's a big deal, it's just food," and rolled her eyes. So I told my husband to do something about it because he knows my dietary restrictions very well and knows how important that is and how much I love these specific items and can't have them often. So we spoke to her. Everything after that seemed fine. However, I just bought the burritos and knockoff organic Sprite again yesterday. I went to get some around 10 p.m. when my stepdaughter was supposed to be in bed. Unfortunately, the entire liter was gone. I couldn't find it anywhere. So I go into my stepdaughter's room, and she's sitting with not only the Sprite in her lap, but 2 burritos as well. That's when I noticed everything else. My green tea sitting on the floor was gone. The meal containers that I had packed for work under her bed and on her dresser. I thought I was going mental because I couldn't find them anywhere, and it turns out she's been eating them. I've gone many days at work without food because of this. So I told her, I've never been so absolutely disappointed and repulsed that someone could lack that much respect and empathy for another individual, and walked out. I woke my husband. He went down and saw everything, but came up and started screaming at me because apparently I made his kid cry, and now he's worried about her developing anxiety about eating. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot at all. How dare your husband yells at you when you're being left with no food? You bought her snacks and she's still eating yours. Time to get a refrigerator with a padlock on it for the garage. She seems to have targeted your food for whatever reason and will not stop with just talk. While your husband may be worried about her developing anxiety, I think you guys both missed the boat. Something happened. What you're describing is not normal behavior. This is family therapy time. Something is up with the kid hoarding food, especially just your food. No need to put up with it, but it sounds like you'll need a therapist to work with her. This, grabbing the wrong soda repeatedly, is willful obstinance. Taking on the food that the OP can eat, leaving her with very little else, is disturbing. Now, it's not going to kill OP to go without a diet soda or a frozen burrito, but that's not the point. She literally cannot have everyday foods to maintain her health, and she's going through the trouble of making herself meals to sustain her blood sugar levels, but her stepdaughter's stealing that food? Something is going on with this child. I hope these issues can be resolved.